guys, Keith Keller, Melbourne, Australia. And this is Magic Melburnians Season 3. And there's a couple of reasons why it's Season 3. In the first season we did it on Periscope, on my S4. It's okay. I personally don't like Periscope, but it's a thumping live streaming app, which means that videos are fast, funky, and also there's no editing. I personally didn't resonate with that model, so in Season 2 I got a tablet, a Tab A, Samsung Tab A, couple of $100, put it on a tripod, and last season's videos were all done on my tablet. Great, HD quality, 5 megapixels, fantastic. But for Christmas I got myself a phone, a Samsung S7, and look at the difference in the quality. 8 megapixels, HD quality, and this is just techie stuff, but the point is that videos look better, which means we're more inclined to do them. I've got a little fabulous sort of light which takes all our wrinkles away. If only I could get it to colour my hair, I'd be the happiest man in the world. But today we're talking about this idea of content creation. I'm back with my friend Indra here in the city. We're talking about the idea that should you create your own content or should you curate other people's content and maybe make a comment? So we're going to really tease this out. And first things first, why don't we talk about the challenges associated with creating content, because you still haven't done last year's video.
No, I haven't.
And the value proposition of curating content, which could be a good cost-effective, time-effective way. So what are the differences, curation versus creation? Why don't we start there?
Okay, so with content creation, you're actually taking an idea or some concept from what it is you do and your business, and you're turning that into a valuable asset for marketing or selling or education.
So a video or an article, a blog, a podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that obviously has implications with regards to your time, the time it takes to actually do this work, as well as cost. So if you are unable to do it completely on your own, so say for example you wanted to hire a video production team, then there's a cost involved with that. With curation, you're taking the idea of information or products and content that has been created by others around an idea or a topic, a theme, and what you're doing is you're going to add to the conversation of that theme.
Okay, let me pick up on that conversation right there. Content curation versus content creation. My take on this is that I love creating, but it takes time and I've got to do it, or I've got to ship it out. Now I love doing it, so I do it. That's my personal style, but most people don't have time. She's much better at this than me, but she hasn't got the time to do it. So we're seriously considering outsourcing that. So that's a cost, either a monetary cost or a time cost, but the advantage is that you will end up with a product that you created that is yours to use and own and control and move forward and put it in your funnels and do whatever you want with it, and it's yours to own. The value proposition of content curation is that you just simply create lists of things that are already on the web and either add a comment to them or put them into a tangible theme that's related. You're not sharing everything that happened, like the kangaroo on the
Sydney Harbour Bridge.
Sydney Harbour Bridge, or the tennis today. These things are not related to what you do. They're sort of fun and funky, but the point is that you're curating an idea that there's a series of events that came out, or a series of articles, videos, blogs, podcasts, books that have come out this week, and I'm making a comment about those in my capacity. But what I'm fascinated by is that you've even segmented that further, because you've got content aggregation versus content curation. Based on the curation theme, but how do they differ, and what's the value proposition of each?
Okay, so aggregation is the idea where you're pulling other people's content exactly as is and adding it to your own stream. On Twitter, for example, that's a great use of aggregation, is Twitter. And you don't necessarily comment. So, for example, when you're aggregating, you might take thought leaders who are very, very influential in your industry and basically retweet them straight off. Retweet them. And what that does is it gives your own tweet stream an increased volume, a good flow of regular information, which reduces your cost in terms of your marketing budget. You're not having to independently create tweets and all of the
It's a very common
needed.
theme. I've noticed a lot of people are simply taking articles that like a friend of mine, Jeff Bullis,
Yes.
his strategy is he wakes up every day at 4 a.m, writes a blog post before he starts his day. Every day he has a new blog post, fresh and new and brilliant.
Yes,
Now,
he is very good.
These are very substantial articles. I could tweet him all day, every day, and it wouldn't weaken my brand at all.
No, not at all.
Because he's done research and he's already done this really heavy level thing. So content aggregation is a stream of things that are related but not thematic.
Yes, it's you really just looking for the information that is reinforcing the things that you believe in, the ideas that are important to your audience, what actually adds to your product value, to your services value. It's that idea.
Okay.
You're aggregating and pulling together information that is very, very relevant within your industry, around your products, around your services.
And
So-
it's the most time efficient of all of the strategies, isn't it? Which is the
aggregation.
big advantage.
Yeah, and while massive international brands won't actually aggregate traditionally, increasingly we're seeing in the world of fashion that aggregation is starting to creep in.
Okay.
In terms
Okay.
of, say for example, Stella McCartney just recently had a massive fashion week event which included her father and Ringo Starr at the party, and as a consequence of that, what they did was had somebody monitoring their Twitter, the Twitterverse as it were, and a lot of the photographs from her event, which had photos of her father and Ringo Starr and quite a lot of other celebrities, were suddenly being retweeted against her own designer stream, even though it wasn't actually to do with her fashion range, her clothing, etc.
Famous by association.
Exactly. And she is famous anyway, with a famous father. It's just the case that they leveraged and started to use aggregation as another tool for keeping their audience very engaged in the brand.
Yeah. So what's the advantage of stepping it up a notch and going to curation?
Yeah. So with curation, now it's no longer just adding to your own feed and stream. It's now about adding your voice on top.
Okay,
So
your opinion.
This is your opinion. It may be that you're reinforcing, that you're aligning yourself with somebody or an idea. If you are somebody who creates high-vis vests, you may turn around and point to the idea of this wallaby jumping across the Sydney Harbour Bridge and say, hey, if it had been wearing a high-vis vest, there would have been less danger. So you could take something that had happened that had a lot of traction and add a story on top of it.
Look, that's a very, very good example. I don't know if you saw this example. This is an extremely interesting example. There was a BMW in the rain. I can't remember. There was a flood in an American state. And there was a video of the BMW struggling. Right?
Oh, wow.
And someone came along in an Audi and drove straight past them, and someone very cleverly turned that into an ad.
I bet they did.
Said, look at Audi. We had no trouble. No trouble at all.
Wow.
Audi, so quick. They saw an ad, just a bit of footage from NBC or whatever.
Yes.
This BMW couldn't start in the rain, or was stuck there, and the guy's pulling his hair out. And this Audi's just gradually cruising past and say, here's why you would buy an Audi. Now that's content curation, isn't it? The actual article
definitely leverage.
It's from the TV.
Yes.
You could have just shared it. Hey, Audi, number one. But they actually went one step above it and turned it into an ad.
That's right. So in the context of what we're talking about, we would call that leverage rather than curation.
Okay. So that's another level again.
Yeah, that's another kind of idea where you're taking somebody else's material and you're repurposing it. You're basically mashing it, yes. And so mashing and leverage are much
the reason why I love this series, the reason why I love what we're doing is we're taking real world examples and we're giving people that are watching these videos a chance to sort of experience what they could try
Yes,
themselves.
exactly.
Like if you have the
Takes-
Wallaby example or the Audi example.
Yeah.
So we've talked about content curation and the two parts of that. We've talked about content creation and the two parts of that, it being you can do it or else you can
You
pay
get
someone
help.
else to do it.
To do it. Visual social is the idea of making what you're sharing online really visible.
Compelling.
Making it compelling by
yeah.
actually sharing it in a visual form. And that traditionally we were using just photographs. Now we're stepping up into video.
Yeah.
And video is a much more fun form of visual social because it doesn't rule out people who have very conceptual things that they're promoting and selling. So it's hard to photograph software, for example.
Okay.
You can't do that. And yet you can create a video which shows or demonstrates how easy the software is to use.
It's so much more interesting to the actual person. So what we're talking now about is this visual branding, visual social. You can take a picture like on Instagram and you can have videos on Instagram. But on Twitter, and this is where my domain is, if you like, is that I'm now going to perfect these 2-minute videos on Twitter. This time I'm going to edit them down into 2 minutes and then send them to YouTube. Now that's a very good example of visual social.
Yes, it is.
You've got an amazing article on my blog. And I've got a photo as relates to that. But if we put a 2-minute video explaining what the article's about, we've got a zillion times more chance of getting people to read it. A zillion times.
Yes.
Because
we do.
you're explaining a little bit about it, and then if I just point, go here to read the article, then people are going to do it. Because just that idea of pointing, which brings us to the idea of a call to action.
Yes, it does. Calls to action are really, really important in social.
So tell me about that and the different types.
So with calls to action, they've been around for a long time. Even long form sales letters have always had this real need for a call to action. When we're creating materials and we're marketing to people, we're basically inviting them into our world.
Okay. Yep.
So that's the very first thing. And once you've finished promoting and getting people excited about your product, you've got to give them the next thing that they have to do. What do they do next? And that is basically what your call to action is, or CTA, as it's called in the online
marketing
digital
speak.
space. Yep. So with the CTA, it's about adding the value, helping the person to understand why they should take that next step.
Well, I'll give you an example of a call to action, and we've got some here, but say for instance, and there'll be a CTA, a call to action in this tweet. This is a video that will go 2 minutes, but I'll write inside the tweet, click here to see the full video, and the call to action is go to YouTube.
Yes.
That's the call to action. Bucks in the mud.
So it's not about the click here. It's about turning around and saying, this is it. If you have this link, if you have this button, by actually engaging with it, this is the benefit that you get.
Okay. So you want to get very specific. Calculate now.
Exactly.
Get the tickets.
Exactly.
Find out more. It's not just the quick sale. It's more engaging. One thing we're finding with social is that social is getting less salesy.
Yes,
and
we need to be less salesy on
It's
social.
getting less salesy. It's not about the quick sale. You talk a lot about the long tail.
Yes, I do.
In
love
your
tail.
video, which you do on your phone, I'd like to talk about the difference between content creation from the point of view of doing it yourself, where you have control, but you've got to do it, and the value proposition of either doing it fast, like I do, what do we call it, fast and fabulous?
Fast and fabulous.
Or paying someone else who's an expert. Then you've got to ask the question, how much is my time worth?
Exactly.
If I'm with a client that generates X number of dollars a day or a week, and I'm spending my time editing a video, which is a very low-level idea for a consultant. It's not a very good use of your time.
Exactly.
I want to talk a bit more about these CTAs. I want to talk about the idea that we're getting less salesy.
We are getting less salesy, and I think that in actual fact, if you read any marketing journals, one of the things that they talk about is how we see far too many marketing messages, and as a consequence, there is a real resistance now to a very, very overt idea in terms of
things.
buying, always being
We can see.
buying.
I want to give you a really good example. I'll embed this into the video, and I'm going to actually play the video later. Twitter, we know, is one of the lesser popular ideas. Facebook and Instagram are very popular. Twitter less so, especially in Australia. So Twitter invented this video, which I love. It's the best thing I've seen in 12 months, where they know that Twitter's hard, and they know that a lot of people resist. So they created a video called Let's Go Twitter, where someone turns up to this siege drama because this guy's so upset about not being able to use Twitter that he's going to throw the phone through the window and hurt people. So this guy, under the sort of the guise of a police officer, comes and sorts it out.
Yes.
Now, what that is it's an ad for Twitter, but it's not really an ad for Twitter because it's so funny that you watch it over and over again as a piece of entertainment.
Yes, it is.
It's entertaining. It happens to be an ad for, maybe Twitter's not that hard. And maybe I should try it. And I think I get it now.
I love the timing of this particular video, the fact that it's come out right now when we've just discovered that Facebook is stopping all of the business and commercial updates in people's timelines on Facebook, which means that it's not a platform for anyone who's promoting or doing business anymore unless you're advertising.
It's
There's a lot of people who are unhappy, yes.
Is that still the case on the pages though, or only on the profiles?
It's on, your information is going still to your page, however, it's not if people are following you, that doesn't necessarily mean that they'll see your information.
Now what that tells me, that's a very good explanation of what happened there, but what that tells me is Facebook has now realised, people don't want to be sold to.
They definitely don't want to be sold to. And what that means, though, is that if you've very heavily invested in this one particular platform for your business and promotion and marketing and as a way to educate your audience, then all of the effort, everything that you have done to date will now actually sit there and erode. So you need to be looking at alternative platforms. And to my mind, I believe that Australian businesses have a real opportunity now to get into a whole new game with a platform like Twitter.
It's 2018. At the moment, only 32% of Aussies use Twitter. And we just had a conversation with a really beautiful person who doesn't use it. And the truth is that 68%, is that right? 68% of Australians do not use Twitter. So that's a huge opportunity that if businesses can suddenly find a way in, it's an untapped market.
It is very much an untapped market, and I imagine that for a lot of people, the fact that there are so few Australians on Twitter is the thing that's holding them back, or that they feel that the investment is not worth the time. I would say that in 2018, the social media landscape will change quite a lot, just based on the different decisions that are being made now,
especially
by the
because of
platforms.
this Facebook update.
In particular, yeah.